And good morning. Welcome to the Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for being here. Our number today and every day on the Bright Side. And we love hearing from you, 844-236-6010. If you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share. If you just want to contribute to the conversation, if you have a health challenge you or a loved one may be dealing with, we can help you. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll have Dr. Judy Mikovits back on at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk some vaccines. We're going to talk about masks. I just finished reading her mask book, The Case Against Masks, 10 Reasons Why Mask Use Should Be Limited. We'll talk about masks, we'll talk about vaccines, and we'll talk about the endocannabinoid system. As it turns out, Dr. Mikovits is an expert among other expertises that she has. She's an expert on the endocannabinoid system and the importance of the endocannabinoid system for boosting immunity. There's so many ways we can boost our immune system that have nothing to do with the medical model. Just diet alone, exercise, oxygenation, meditation, nutritional supplementation, endocannabinoids, CBD. So many strategies we have at our disposal to help boost our immune system, to protect ourselves against viral infections. Yet all we hear about is vaccinations and lockdowns and wearing masks. It's just crazy. But it's up to us. It's up to us. We can't count on health authorities to take care of us for us. It's up to us to take care of ourselves. That's what the Bright Side's all about. It's becoming our own health authorities. And nothing exemplifies the power of the human body to handle whatever life may throw at us than the endocannabinoid system, the built-in cannabinoids, the built-in, if you will, marijuana-like substances that relax us, that boost our parasympathetic nervous system, that strengthen our immunity. Anyway, we'll talk to Judy Mikovits at the bottom of the hour. We'll get your calls this next in our next segment. 844-236-6010 is our number on the Bright Side. If you want to purchase longevity products, as always, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can also call 866-735-2470 if you want to purchase products and ask about joining the Bright Side Ben team. For a one-time fee, you can be in business for yourself. Call 866-735-2470 if you are an entrepreneur, you like the entrepreneur lifestyle. If you like nutrition, if nutrition has helped you or your loved ones and you want to be part of the multi-billion-dollar nutrition business and start a home-based business, call 866-735-2470 for more info or click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. All right, Judy Mikovits will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We'll get your calls this next segment, 844-236-6010. We're talking about candida infections. And candida infections can range from the mild, which Dr. William Crick talks about in his Yeast Connection book. And by mild, I mean, we'll say subclinical, like you don't know you have necessarily yeast infection, but you just feel like crap. That's not necessarily mild. You feel like crap, but they can range from this subclinical kind of infection to life-threatening. Candida infections are especially problematic for folks who are on immune suppressant drugs or who have HIV or who have had organ transplants. Pretty much anyone who's got immune suppression, whether it's from post-surgery or organ transplantation or HIV, is going to be at risk for dangerous, even life-threatening candida infections. Candida is in everybody. We all have candida in our bodies. The problem is the overgrowth of candida. As soon as we're born, as soon as we come out of the birth canal, candida, along with bacteria and other fungus for that matter, enter into our bodies. We have a mycobiome and we have a microbiome, and candida and other fungi and other bacteria all enter into the human baby as he or she comes through the birth canal. And sometimes those will actually show up as oral thrush in babies. It's not uncommon for babies to have oral thrush before their microbiome and their immune system starts to kick in. But more often than not, the yeast is undetectable from a clinical perspective. But by the age of 6, 90% of children are going to demonstrate a reaction to diagnostic tools for assessing the presence of candida, among other fungi. This is called a delayed skin test, by the way. They give you a small amount of yeast. They inject it right subdermally into the skin or just underneath the skin. And if you get a rash, you get a reaction, that demonstrates that the immune system has developed antibodies to candida, and 90% of kids are going to have this kind of reaction. Because bacteria and fungi and yeast are adversarial, they fight each other in nature and in the bodies for our entire lives, from the moment we're born till the moment we die. Our bodies are the site of this lifelong battle between the bacteria and the fungus. especially between bacteria and candida, among other members of the fungal kingdom. Of course, then we have to add antibiotics into the mix, whether we take them intentionally or whether we take them as if we take them intentionally as prescription medicine, or whether we take them unintentionally, inadvertently in foods, in dairy, in tap water. Tap water, yes, contains measurable amounts of antibiotics. Tap water contains measurable amounts of a lot of medication. Tap water contains measurable amounts of antidepressant medication. Tap water contains measurable amounts of antihypertensive medication. Tap water contains measurable amounts of chemotherapy medication. And of course, tap water is also a source of antibiotics. So you don't even have to go out, or you don't even have to have a prescription for antibiotics to pretty much have at least small amounts of antibiotics into your system, which can throw off this balance, this bacterial fungal balance. Not to mention chlorine and fluoride. Don't forget about that, because chlorine and fluoride have bactericidal properties. Both of them kill bacteria, kill the gut microbiome. In fact, that's why chlorine is added to the waters, to kill bacteria. So between chlorine and fluoride and antibiotics and tap water, you can see how it's possible and even likely that you're going to have some kind of fungal issue. These antibiotics aren't necessarily going to kill the candida, but they can kill the bacteria, and then the candida overgrow. And this is where candida infections can occur, according to Dr. Truss, who's the author of the book *The Missing Diagnosis*, Part 1 and Part 2, writing in the Journal of Orthomolecular Psychiatry. Few, if any, individuals over a lifetime escape repeated encounters with candida. Question is, what are the clinical implications of these repeated infections? By the way, Dr. Truss was first alerted to the problems of candida infections and fungal infections when he noticed that there were mental health issues associated with fungal infections, brain fog issues, depression issues. His first work was published in the Journal of Orthomolecular Psychiatry. So what is the clinical implication of repeated infection? Doctors will tell you there's no clinical implications. Conventional wisdom says, and medical textbooks actually, they acknowledge candida. You can't deny candida, and they acknowledge that it's widespread. But they don't believe, medical doctors don't believe that its proliferation or candida infections have subclinical importance. Obviously, everybody knows, if you're involved in medicine, I should say, all medical professionals know that candida infections can occur. But what they don't believe is that there's subclinical candida infections that are low level. It's this low level candida infection that causes health challenges that is controversial. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We've got lines open for you. If you're on hold, we'll get you this segment. We've got Dr. Judy Mikovits coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk endocannabinoids, vaccines, and masks. We are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Dr. Judy Mikovits will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk endocannabinoids, and we'll talk vaccines, and we'll talk masks. I just finished reading her book, A Case Against Masks, 10 Reasons Why Masks Should Be Limited. You can't get this book on Amazon, interestingly enough. A lot of books you can't get on Amazon, I'm finding out. Usually have to do with viral infections. Go figure. But you can't get it on Barnes & Noble, barnesandnoble.com, at least for now. Very interesting reading, very easy reading. It's only about 100 pages. We'll talk to Dr. Mikovits about masks. We'll talk about vaccines. We'll talk about endocannabinoids. At the bottom of the hour, we'll get your calls coming up here in just a moment. Hang tight if you're on hold. Excuse me. 844-236-6010 is our number. So, got lots more to say about invasive candidiasis, about candida in general, about subclinical or mildly symptomatic candida infections, ranging all the way to the big-time candida infections. A lot of this has to do with our overuse of antibiotics. And we're going to talk a little bit about antibiotics, too, on our coming Bright Side episodes. Kind of interesting. Antibiotics and vaccines and medication in general, while they seem like they may be helpful in the short term, in the short run, in the long run, you're playing with fire when you use medications to take care of health challenges. Do you need them sometimes? Yes. Okay, I know that. I've studied medicine, literally medicine and drugs and pharmacology and pharmacy for 35 years. I know that. Yes, you need medication sometimes. The problem is when you're on it long term. And by long term, I'm talking about for 30 days or 60 days. Ranging to years. It's just foolish a foolish medical strategy to leave a patient or for a patient to take a medication, a pharmaceutical, for a long period of time. There's no way you're not going to have long-term negative effects, even if you don't notice them. Simply because when you take a medication, the body has to mobilize precious nutritional resources to get rid of that medication. I know I've said this so many times. That's just the way the body works. We've got a poison control system, and that poison control system, like other systems in the body, uses vitamin C, uses coenzyme Q10, uses B complex, uses copper, uses magnesium, uses the mighty 90 essential nutrients, which are already in short supply. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm going to read this real quick, and then we'll get your calls. This is from Ophthalmology Advisor. 5 dietary factors affecting glaucoma risk. Did you know January is National Glaucoma Awareness Month? Glaucoma is an insidious, sneaky eye disease. It involves pressure building up in the eye. It's the leading cause of blindness. And the number one risk factor, surprise, surprise, for glaucoma, as well as other ophthalmological health issues, including cataracts. And I know a lot of you guys, in fact, I get calls probably every week from folks who have cataracts. A lot of ophthalmological health issues have to do with sugar. Surprise, surprise. And this is the number one risk factor for ophthalmological health challenges is dysglycemia, whether or not you've been diagnosed as a diabetic. Don't be fooled by the standard medical prognosis of, oh, your blood sugar is fine. If you are symptomatic, if you're symptomatic in any way, but especially if you're symptomatic in terms of ophthalmology, just assume you're dysglycemic whether or not you're diabetic or been pronounced diabetic. Dysglycemia simply means messed up blood sugar. Go ketogenic. Many people notice benefits for glaucoma almost within a week of going ketogenic, or at least going low carb. The cataracts are a little different because they're damage. There's damage to the lens when you have cataracts, and I don't know that you can necessarily reverse cataracts. But you can sure slow down the progress of it by going low calorie and low carb. And low carb and low calorie kind of go hand in hand. Calories themselves, no matter what they come from, can throw off blood sugar. So going low calorie, going low carb, using nutrients that support the body's ability to handle sugar, chromium, vanadium, selenium, niacin. Don't forget your niacin. Very underappreciated blood sugar stabilizing nutrient is your ultimate niacin from longevity. 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams a day in conjunction with all the B complex. Likewise, thiamine, by the way. That's another very important blood sugar stabilizing nutrient. Alpha lipoic acid. You're diabetic or you're dysglycemic, alpha lipoic acid, as pricey as it is, and it's probably one of the pricier of nutritional supplements, and it's not essential necessarily, but it can be very, very beneficial for helping keep blood sugar stable. Leafy greens are also important for ophthalmological or ocular health. Leafy greens like chard and spinach and arugula. Leafy greens are sources of carotenoids as well as antioxidants. The greens, the chlorophyll, is a source of antioxidants, and of course magnesium is in the greens too, and also selenium as well as other antioxidants. All right, I want to get to the phones. I know I keep saying that here. Sorry, I'm going to run out of time. Pam in California. Oh, Pam, hi, from yesterday.
Yes, good morning, Ben.
Hey, what's going on, Pam?
Well, I'm calling you back, but I just wanted to say I wish you had been around 30 years ago when I needed you, because no one knew anything about anything. You know, we all went to the doctor.
Yeah, well, it's still that way. You're just you're a pioneer yourself, Pam, because you know better, but still most people do. You know, it hasn't changed all that much.
Well, it was these health issues that woke me up, and I was always looking for an answer, you know. And I like to say I read health books for entertainment, you know, rather than
you.
Fiction. I do.
Well, you should be a teacher. You should go out and talk to people, and maybe you can help change some lives, some younger folks.
I'm trying. I was a teacher for 25 years.
I had a feeling. You sound like a teacher.
And I've passed on as much information, but it's very disheartening to go grocery shopping, and I must wear a mask because they won't let you in the store. You know, they have. Right. People outside the store.
I hope you'll stay on when we have Judy in our next, Dr. Mikovits in our next segment.
She's amazing.
I
have her original book, you know, the one that you can't find much anymore. But there is a chiropractor here in the Santa Cruz area. He's in Capitola. and he interviewed her on a radio program as well.
Nice.
And she is phenomenal.
Wait, you have the Plague of Corruption? Is that the book you're talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very scientifically written, a lot of medical jargon in there.
She is an epic scientist. She's a quintessential scientist. And she gets ripped on. They're destroying her. They're destroying. If you look up her name on the internet, it's just canard and rumors and negative stuff. And it's awful. It's awful. And she's a beautiful human being. She does great
brilliant.
work.
She's brilliant. But anyway, I don't have a whole lot to add except that I do believe, and I'm going to go back to the emotional aspect because you've touched on it, and I think that's why my immune system throughout the years was so sensitive to a lot of these fungal things, is because I had a very abusive alcoholic father.
Got it. You'd be surprised how often that's underneath.
Oh, my gosh.
Underneath health challenges, yeah.
And he had mental issues. I think he was bipolar. He was this, he was that. But
well, you made it. You made it through. You survived.
And I tried very, very hard. But these two books, Cass Ingram's book is wonderful.
Which book? Which one of his books?
Natural Cures for Killer Germs.
Natural Cures for Killer Germs. Okay, I'm going to have to get that.
And it's about 10 or 12 years old, but he really pushes the wild oregano oil. Oh, there.
Yeah, he loves the wild oregano. I'm going to get Natural Cures for Killer Germs. By the way, I've been reading Dr. Circus's book. I got it on Kindle yesterday, and thank you for pointing that out to me because he's got some really good stuff to say about fungal infections. Go ahead, real quick.
Real fast. There is a machine. Look up called the TRT machine. Called Stem Cell Machine. This doctor in Santa Cruz is using it.
Thank you, Pam. I got to go. Got to take a commercial. Judy Mikovits will be with us. Thanks. What? We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific, and 10 to 11 Central Time, and 24/7 on the archive pages at benfuchsarchives.com, also brightsideben.com, and of course you can purchase longevity products at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You've got news stories, blog posts, videos, lots of great health information on our websites, criticalhealthnews.com, pharmacistben.com, and brightsideben.com. And don't forget to take a look at our Truth Skin Health products, all formulated in my compounding pharmacy for healing wounds. Healing wounds equals beauty. Health equals beauty. That's the message. And you'll never find any preservatives, fragrances, fillers, waxes, emulsifiers, water, silicone, vegetable oil. Just 100% active and functional ingredients in all of our Truth Skin Health products. TruthTreatments.com for purchasing Truth Treatments, and TruthReviewed.com if you want to check out our 1,500 plus 4- and 5-star reviews. Truth Reviewed with a D at the end.com, and TruthTreatments.com for all our Truth Treatments. All right, I'm super excited to talk to our guest today. Dr. Judy Mikovits needs no introduction, but just real briefly, she's got a couple books out, Plague of Corruption and Plague, and I've just finished, earlier this week, I just finished reading The Case Against Masks, 10 Reasons Why Mask Use Should Be Limited. We're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system, vaccines, and masks. Please welcome to the bright side, Dr. Judy Mikovits. Hey, Dr. Judy.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hey, thank you so. Yeah, good to talk to you as well. Thank you so much for coming on. There's always tons of stuff that I want to talk about with you. So, first and foremost, the book, 10 Reasons Why Masks Should Be Limited. So, what do you think when you see everybody walking around wearing masks and you hear the standard medical information that you got to wear a mask? How does that even work, that a mask can protect against a virus? What are people thinking?
Well, it actually doesn't protect against a virus. It simply depletes your immune system and makes you more susceptible to every kind of upper respiratory infection. And clearly they're not thinking. And I guess, the book even quotes Tony Fauci. It was written, we wrote the book and submitted it July 2nd of last year. It was published August 18th. It's called The Case Against the Mask, 10 Reasons Why Mask Use Should Be Limited. And it quotes, not until 2020 was there ever any study that said masks protected against any kind of upper respiratory viral infection. And in fact, it enhances bacterial infections and fungal infections as the masks aren't sterile, and you're depleting again, as I mentioned, you're building up toxic carbon dioxide in your airways, you're depleting the ability of oxygen to run literally all of your metabolic functions. So it's actually crippling and driving the disease. Always has, always will. And this is it makes me, when you ask me what I think, it makes me incredibly sad. I spend every day just trying to educate people. No, this is just plain wrong. It's dangerous. I'm just so fearful of how many are going to have lifelong injury, even from a few minutes in the mask, especially the children who are at no risk of any kind of serious disease from these coronavirus infections or influenza infections or upper respiratory infections unless they're compromised.
What about people who are already have respiratory compromise, or perhaps who are smokers? What about them? What do you think about those guys wearing masks? It seems like it would be.
It's even worse.
Yeah.
So in fact, my husband has COPD he's 82 from a bacterial pneumonia that he was hospitalized for more than a week when he was in his 40s, 40 years ago. So we always have to protect him. COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is by definition what we call hypercapnia, too much CO2 in the blood. So if you've already got too much carbon dioxide in the blood, you simply don't deplete your oxygen and increase your carbon dioxide even more. And so it's deadly, deadly, deadly for the most susceptible to these upper respiratory infections. And so this is why it just horrifies me. Our book is very heavily censored. I still don't have a copy. I've been trying to get copies for weeks.
I have 2 copies. I have 2 copies if you want one. I'll send you my second copy.
Well, in the beginning, we were able to get the books, and then just as soon as it quoted, the studies going back decades and quoted Tony Fauci and everybody else in the beginning, Robert Redfield was on a paper on the New England Journal of Medicine, March 1st, no, this is no worse than the ordinary flu, and then they come out March 1st of 2020 and say, oh no, don't wear a mask, that only makes things worse, and it makes you think you're safe, and you're not safe. You're spreading disease, and of course then the anger and fear. Anger and fear are the 2 most powerfully immune suppressive things there are. So those 2 things are amplified dozenfold with the mask use. As I mentioned, I get frustrated every time I walk out.
I can only imagine.
You just can't help anybody.
Is there something people can, when you have to wear a mask, say somebody works at a grocery store or whatever they're working, they have to wear it for 8 straight hours. I can't even imagine what that's like to have to wear a mask for 8 straight hours. Is there something people could do to mitigate the damage, the hypercapnia, the elevated carbon dioxide in the blood, or anything? Is there something people can do?
Yeah, there are masks available that we've used for these patient populations that have been around for about, I'd say, 5 or 6 years now. One company called True 47, TRU47.com. Those are silver. They're made out of silver, so what you end up breathing in is anti-infective colloidal silver. So they can actually be good for people with AIDS, with compromised immunity. For my husband, if you have to wear it, they're silver mesh masks. They're breathable. You can breathe through them. And, of course, no pathogen will come in or out, because one of the problems is as you compromise your immune system, you will start replicating and shedding dormant viruses of all kinds. And pathogens, that mycoplasmas, things like that, will start being spread, and you will concentrate them. And with this mask, in or out, they bind to the copper and to the silver, never to be released again. So that remains sterile. So check out the mask at true47.com. Note, I have no financial interest, nor did I do anything other than attempt to find a solution, because that's why we wrote the book.
That's a great tip. All right, I want to get into the end. I know there's so much I want to talk to you about here, but real quick, tell us about the myth of asymptomatic carriers.
Well, so with the coronavirus, of course, number one, first, SARS-CoV-2 really has never been isolated from humans and shown to be human-to-human transmissible. It's been theoretically isolated and published to have been isolated from humans, but it was cultured in monkey cells. So there's no evidence that the virus that they say is SARS-CoV-2 came from a person with disease and has a complete sequence. So again, it's not a human pathogen. So there's no such thing as an asymptomatic carrier. You're a healthy person who has cleared the virus and therefore spread immunity, herd immunity.
That's unbelievable. All right, Dr. Mikovits, when we come back, we'll talk endocannabinoids. We'll touch a little bit on this mRNA vaccine. We've got Dr. Judy Mikovits with us, author of Plague of Corruption. We'll be back with more of Dr. Mikovits on the bright side right after this. Okay, we're back on the bright side. I'm pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Dr. Judy Mikovits about masks, about vaccines, and about the endocannabinoid system. Dr. Mikovits, I've been personally studying the endocannabinoid system for many, many years for anxiety and as part of the really fundamental neurotransmitter. It's probably the most fundamental of the neurotransmitters. But tell us about immunity in the endocannabinoid. Actually, first tell us about the endocannabinoid system, and then tell us about how it relates to immunity.
Sure. The endocannabinoid system, it means, as you know, endogenous. That is, we're born with an entire system, hundreds of receptors and ligands that are what I mean by ligands. So molecules that bind in our body, natural products that our own body makes, anandamide, PEA. These bind to receptors that are it's a lipid, it's a fat signaling system. And so these receptors are embedded in the membranes of our cells, are intracellular, they're intranuclear, things like PPAR, cannabinoid receptor 1 and 2, the pain sensors, channel receptors, TRPV1 that control hot and cold pain. So it's a lipid signaling system that helps modulate really all other physiological, behavioral, and energetic processes in the body. So it's key to immune health. I call it the dimmer switch on the immune system, so the flame doesn't get too high.
So it's a calming effect, kind of like you would imagine from cannabinoids.
Correct. Calming for anxiety, itch, sleep, depression, repairs fibrosis. What's at the heart of COVID? Oh, fibrosis. So you just need to calm, and it actually calms and interacts. There's a cannabinoid receptor on the hematopoietic, the blood stem cell.
Wow.
So you can regulate all other cells of the immune system according to where the flame, the fire is too high. So it's key to stopping neuroinflammation, really key to any of these infectious diseases, because it's not the infection. It's the flame that gets too high. It's the dysregulation, the hyperimmune response.
Would you say it's got a anti-inflammatory effect on the blood itself?
Absolutely, and a pro-inflammatory test. So it's a modulator. It goes both ways.
It goes either way. Oh my goodness!
It goes either way. So both on the hematopoietic stem cell, which controls your innate and adaptive immune response. So so the general is a molecule called transforming growth factor beta, TGF-beta. So TGF-beta can interact directly with the endocannabinoid receptor 2 and then turn on the production of the inflammatory cytokines. And then it has a feedback loop to come turn it off when you've got a flame too high.
Would you
it's
say
really, really key.
Would you say it has a modulating effect on growth factors in general?
Yes. And so there's on the mesenchymal stem cell. So that's another stem cell at the level of bone development and growth development. So this is what regulates between, fat production and going towards bone production. So it's key in blocking the osteoporosis, the breaking down of bone as we age, particularly in women. Really important in controlling literally just the balance of everything. And we see the explosion of, fat people who are overweight. And this is you can correct using cannabinoids, literally correct those the metabolic dysfunction at the level of the very genes that control whether or not you build bone or fat. So it's really an important system in our body, and it's really been neglected.
Would you say so it's got epigenetic properties? It turns genes on and off too.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's a modulator. It turns genes on and off too. So signaling through the membrane of the cell, through these receptors. So
like a steroid.
Outside of the cell. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So it has the same kind of functionality, intracellular, internuclear functionality like a steroid would.
Correct.
Holy moly.
And there are many of them. There are hundreds of molecules at different parts in the body. So different kinds. The brain has the CB1 receptors, and that just calms everything down at the level of that mesenchymal stem cell, whereas in the immune system, in the gut, throughout the body, right there at your bone marrow, is where CB2 controls the inflammatory responses of the immune system, and then they regulate each other. Very, very key system.
Do you suspect that there are topical benefits to applying CB or cannabinoids topically for this growth factor and epigenetic kinds of for the effects?
Oh, I don't only suspect it. I absolutely know it topically.
Wow.
In fact, most of what we do is use balm. And we use balms that have other anti-inflammatory molecules mixed with cannabinoids, let's just say certain kinds of mushrooms. And then as you apply them to the back of the neck, for instance, they go directly through the blood-brain barrier into the brain. So you can formulate in balms in ways that we have huge effects at positive benefits of using balms and creams to heal and calm many inflammatory diseases in helping cancer therapy. That's what we help do. We use cannabinoids as adjuvants, as helpers, really, and in cancer therapies and as well as therapies for AIDS acquired. We call them acquired endocannabinoid immune deficiency or dysfunction. Correct.
Oh my goodness! So you can have endocannabinoid deficiencies.
Absolutely, and dysfunction because we haven't been fed the plant. So the plants, the various cannabinoid plants, the cannabis plants, including hemp, have been taken out of our diets and out of our country since 1938 when they were placed on a Schedule I drug. So, in fact, when President Trump put the Farm Bill in place, he allowed the growing of hemp and other things, and it's now perfectly legal federally. And this has really been a boost to us being able to use the hemp and the cannabinoid plant as a healing product. It's absolutely not a drug when formulated in certain ways.
How about
Never is it a Schedule I drug, so that needs to change.
How about for the skin itself? Like for fibroblasts or for keratinocytes or for dermal health?
Oh, it's absolutely important for keratinocytes, which is, the skin surveillance cell, the macrophage lineage resident stem cell. So your skin is absolutely beautiful. I'm looking at my own. I use it for a sunscreen. I use it so you can really change
cannabinoids for sunscreen? Health. Cannabinoids for sunscreen? Yeah. They have
absolutely.
As an antioxidant, not as an SPF, though.
Well, it prevents any kind of inflammation from getting too high.
That's amazing.
I don't know what SPF is. It's a natural.
Sun protection.
I use natural oil.
Okay, that's great. So real quick, because we're running out of time, does EFA deficiency or fat malabsorption play a role in endocannabinoid deficiency, do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, since it's a lipid signaling system. If you don't have healthy fat, and you're not able to signal and have healthy cell membranes. That's why we encourage a diet with healthy fats, healthy egg yolks with phosphatidylcholine, because if your membranes aren't healthy, then the receptors, they cross the receptors are such that they cross the membrane 6 or 7 times. They're called G protein linked receptors. So if they don't cross the membrane 6 or 7 times in loops, then they can't signal through the charges as they do. So you must have healthy fat and healthy fat membranes in order to have a healthy endocannabinoid system.
So if I want, do you have any papers or are there any books about that? I haven't heard about a lot of this stuff, and I've been studying endocannabinoids for a long time. What, do you have papers you published, or do you recommend? Yeah, so...
I'll send you papers, but they're not my publications. This is, what we do is just read the literature. So, yeah, I've got a lot of links depending on, I sent you one slideshow that was just endocannabinoids in COVID-19. I can send you one for the various endocannabinoids in autoimmunity. And what's really key is you don't necessarily need THC, these psychoactive cannabinoids. You can replace with other terpenes, because cannabinoids are terpenes. It's a class of compounds. I'm a natural product chemist, so you can use other things to modulate the receptor. And so it's really a fun science for us today.
Oh, my goodness. I got so many more things I wanted to ask you, but you'll come back on again, I hope, Dr. Mikovits.
Always. I'll send you some of the slides and papers, and we can focus on cannabinoids and autoimmunity,
That'd
or
be
cannabinoids
awesome.
and cancer, or an infectious disease.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for being on the bright side, and thank you for your work. It's really epic, and it's so important. Thank you very much for everything you're doing, Dr. Mikovits.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Ben.
Take care, Judy. That was Dr. Judy Mikovits, author of Plague of Corruption, and just an all-around wealth of information. We'll have her back on for sure. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side, friends. I am Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to you all later, folks. Bye for now.